Good evening, welcome to the Planning Board meeting of September 17th, 2013. Meeting is covered live on cable TV, just for everyone's information. With that, I will open the meeting, and first thing is we have the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by John to accept the meeting minutes from our past meeting, second. Seconded by Babe. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 5. Larry, we have a submittal from...
Yep, for a preliminary subdivision.
Mhm.
And a check.
Preliminary plan for Sanula Crossing, Field Pond Road Extension. Check is for $4,100.
Let's go.
We have to initial the page, Larry?
Yeah, I can do that when we get the... We'll be able to get that on the agenda for the first.
No 81Ps tonight.
Nope.
With that, the first item is the amended site plan for 14 Prospect Street, the Milford Regional Medical Center.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'm Ernie Pettinari. My law office is located at 12 Main Street, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Milford Regional Medical Center. We've got several people in attendance with us this evening. Peter Lavoie is going to do most of the presentation this evening. I'm just going to give you an overview. I think you all know Peter. Behind me, Kevin Walsh is the project manager for Murphy McManus. Pete McManus from Murphy McManus. Steve Evers is the project architect. Tom Susko is also on the architectural team, and Joe Bozanowski is from the Milford Regional Medical Center. Those folks are all here with us. They can answer any questions that come up in the course of this presentation. I think the board is aware, and you might have heard Mr. Kennelly reference it. Last week, we attended a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I think you're all familiar with the site. The Milford Hospital has been on that site for over 100 years. The hospital is a permitted use within the residential RA zoning district. The structure itself, however, is non-conforming by virtue of a series of variances that were granted to the medical center over the last several years. Because it's a non-conforming structure, we needed to secure a special permit to facilitate the extension that we're here tonight to talk about. This evening, we appeared with the Milford Board of Sewer Commissioners. They voted unanimously to accept the proposal that we were making and to grant the sewer connection permit as we had requested. On Thursday evening of this week, we're going to be attending the Milford Conservation Commission, so we're proceeding apace with all of the necessary local approvals. Generally speaking, this is an addition which consists of about 39,000 square feet on the ground. It adds 115,000 usable square feet of space that's comprised over 3 floors. There will be 88 additional parking spaces created underneath the facility. Overall, the impact is a slight reduction in parking, but the parking still meets and satisfies all of the zoning requirements. What is going to be upgraded inside the facility will be patient rooms, the intensive care area, and the emergency services. What is also being upgraded is the traffic flow within the site and on and off of the site, because the intention is to relocate the primary access point for the Milford Regional Medical Center to the access point which is now shown as Huntoon Slip. The existing access way that's on Main Street and one of the curb cuts up on the top at Prospect Street will be eliminated, so we'll end up with 2 access points. The traffic will generally flow around the addition for emergency services, adding the parking, as we say, for the emergency room for visitors and staff. One of the conditions that the zoning board added last week was that that parking be reserved approximately 90-10 in favor of patients and visitors. That's basically the general overview of the project. Peter will do the engineering presentation, and then as questions arise, the folks that are here in attendance can answer them. The boards that are in front of you, I think, speak for themselves. You've got exterior rendering showing the addition in its configuration relative to the existing structure, and the boards that are over there show a floor plan of the expansion that's being done. The parking level is shown on the lower one, and then I think that's the emergency facility, although I'm not close enough to see it. The emergency room is there. Mr. Kennelly's having trouble, but I'll move that for his benefit as well. That concludes my remarks, and with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll just turn it.
Just for clarification,
When you
your
ref-
reference to the percentage of parking, what was that in reference to? What did they ask?
The zoning board imposed a condition that out of the 88
New spots?
new spots under the building, 80 of them be reserved for patients and visitors.
Oh, okay.
That's the condition.
Are you referring to like emergency room patients and I'm just unclear of exactly what you're referring to.
Yes, emergency room, day surgery, those kinds of patients, yes.
What about doctors and nurses
They
and
have to
things
go
like
in
that?
next.
The zoning board felt that they would, let me back up a step. Generally speaking, the employee parking is spread out over
In the
the
rear.
entire site. In fact, they've got an arrangement at the medical center with the Portuguese Club for use of the Portuguese Club facility for parking for many of their own employees and staff. What the zoning board asked us to do was restrict the access to the covered parking in a percentage of 80 to 8, so that the staff, doctors, et cetera, would be in the 8, and the patients and visitors would be in the 80. The feeling amongst the majority of the members of the zoning board was that they wanted to be sure that people that would be frequenting the emergency and day surgical units, and people visiting family members, and people responding with people in emergency situations wouldn't be forced to go out and find a parking space under those trying times. And again, the general intention of the hospital was to utilize that space for that very purpose. But that's the percentage.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just want to hand out these little signs so you. That's the set.
Put the mic over here for him.
Thanks,
Put the other mic up there.
Got one for the press, just in case.
Nice guy, son.
Sorry.
All right, chopped liver.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry.
I'm gonna change my recommendation.
So just to get everyone familiarized with the lot, Prospect Street runs along the side, right here. Main Street runs along the bottom. And here is Hontoon Slip in this location here. And the Portuguese Club is at the top.
I'm gonna put the mic over here so you can speak into it.
Okay. The current lot is roughly 16.9 acres in size. We have an existing medical center in this location here. We have one access point here to the parking. We have another access point here for the drop-off area. And then we have another access point here, and eventually goes into the parking as well. We do have an existing road on Hontoon Slip, which is roughly 16 to 18 feet in size, and it just dead ends right about there. There is no access from the parking to Hontoon Slip now. We have wetlands throughout, and we have a stone channel that runs through, goes into this little detention pond, and then goes underground in here. And then this detention pond mitigates the storms, and it goes out through the hospital culvert and ties into O'Brien Brook. And then we have another culvert that goes down Hontoon Slip, and that goes out to Godfrey Brook. So we do have parking around. Basically, we have, for utilities, we have an existing water line that runs down and through and connects to Main Street. We have an existing sewer line from the Portuguese Club, which runs down, comes down Hontoon Slip and ties into Main Street as well. The hospital sewer, we have sewer that comes out, comes down to a cross-country run. When they put on the addition off of Prospect Street, the sewer board required us to disconnect this because the existing line in Main Street is only a 6-inch line, and it used to all go to that 6-inch line. So now we have a cross-country line that comes down into Hontoon, which is an 8, and then ties into Hontoon Slip. Also, another portion of the hospital, which is the Gannett line, the Gannett section, comes down, and that ties into that 6-inch. So you have an 8-inch line coming down for Gannett, as well as a 4-inch line coming down as well that ties into that sewer. We have existing electric that services the current transformer locations, and we have some generators in the back. So what we want to propose, what we're proposing is, we're proposing this addition right here, which Ernie had said is roughly 115,000 square feet of usable area. With associated parking, we have a new parking area under the building with the 88 spots. We have an additional parking area in the back here, which is not under the building. We have some new handicap parking in the front here, as well as we're relocating 3 handicap spots here, and we're making them 4. And then we have a row of parking along the front here. We still have this access point here, but we're going to open it up because of tractor trailers. They have a hard time making this turn, so we're opening this section up, and we're putting in new handicap ramps in that location there. Right now, if you go out there, there's basically no handicap ramps in. That turning radius doesn't work. So then, we still have this access off of Prospect Street. Before, it just used to be a dead end and a circle. So now this entrance here off of 140 comes down. This is a 2-way access drive, and it ties into where Hontoon Slip used to be. Hontoon Slip is going to be reconstructed, so it's a 24-foot wide road with curbing and sidewalk on one side, on this side here. We are going to have a left turn lane only and a right turn lane only leaving, and then we're going to have one lane coming in to service the hospital. So we're basically trying to create this loop, as you see, come through here. This is the loop we're trying to create. So what we have to do is we have to cross that stone canal or stone culvert in this location here. This is all 24-foot wide. We're coming in the back here. This area here is going to be wider because we're leaving the striped area here for tractor trailers when they make deliveries. They can sit here because right now this is where they deliver in the back, and it's very, they usually park they have to come up this way and park in this area here. So we're going to leave this lane here for tractor trailer deliveries, and then we have 2-way traffic crossing. Now the ambulance area, this is going to be the new ambulance area drop off in the back here. So we're moving it from here to here. So this increase in the road also is going to give safe traffic to the ambulances to get back here. So as you can see, the addition goes where all the utilities are currently located. So we have to relocate all the utilities. So the water line that comes down from the Portuguese Club, which came down here, running through and then coming out to the entrance here, will now come down, and we will keep the loop and tie the loop back in. So they're not going to lose their loop. So we're going to replace this line with the loop around the addition. We did meet with the fire chief. He has agreed on all the fire connection locations as well as the fire hydrant locations. I did add some notes from his comments to the plans regarding marking them and also marking the parking areas. The next utility would be sewer. Sewer is a big concern because we have a 6-inch line in Main Street. So now what we're doing is we're taking the hospital. We're taking all of the hospital except this a little addition. This 4-inch line ties into this sewer manhole and goes to that 6-inch line. So that's the only sewer from the hospital that's going to go out to that 6-inch line. The rest of Gannett and the rest of the hospital, as well as the addition, is going to go cross-country under the building in this location here and down and tie into the sewer manhole at the intersection of Hontoon and Main Street. Also, another requirement that the sewer department wanted is When we constructed this parking lot here, the hospital replaced this line up to the Portuguese Club property line because of infiltration. So that's been replaced. So now the sewer department wants us to replace roughly from this sewer manhole to Huntoon Slip. They want us to replace that sewer line because of the type of pipe, it's clay. So they want us to replace that. That's roughly 500 feet that the hospital is willing to replace for infiltration, because the new addition will increase flows by 8,000 gallons. So John felt that replacing that line, it's kind of a balance off for the increase. Electric, we are relocating electric. It's going to be above. It's going to be overhead wires to a utility pole here, and then from this point, it's going to go underground to a new transformer location in this location here, and then we are going to add 2 more generators. One is for future, and one is going to be proposed. Another thing, the oxygen tank that's located right in this location here, we have constructed a new pad per the new guidelines. So this is going to be a new oxygen tank location. It's above ground, and that will tie into the addition. Drainage. What we're doing with drainage, the proposed addition and the proposed parking basically is going to be a decrease of impervious. So we are increasing open space by roughly 3%, but we are doing a couple things. We're taking the roof runoff from Gannett, and some of the parking in the front, and it's going to be put into an underground basin in this location here, in front of the building. This area in the back of pavement, this is basically a bowl. It's going to be collected by a trench drain as well as a double catch basin here, and then it's going into a storm scepter, and then it's going to be discharged into this channel in the back. This area in existing conditions got no treatment, and now we are adding treatment in that location. So the pavement for the access drive, that will go into an isolator row in the underground basin, which gives you the treatment that's required. So we are going to treat all this impervious area in the front here, and then this back area in behind the new addition, that's going to be collected, and that's going to be directed into another storm scepter, which in existing conditions that was getting no treatment as well. We do have a catch basin that was designed for this development for this parking when they closed in the open basin. They put a big underground basin here. They did propose a storm scepter in this location, and it is out there. So I was going to propose that. I didn't know that until I went out in the field and I saw it said storm scepter. So I thought it was just a dream, you know. So there is another storm scepter here. So basically all of that pavement is collected and treated before. There will be no increase in runoff. We are decreasing the runoff leaving the site because, one, we're reducing the impervious area, and two, we're taking the Gannett building and putting it into that underground basin for recharge. One other thing, because we're creating this loop road around for the traffic, we have to cross here and here, so we are crossing those with open bottom culvert, so we're trying to keep the existing channel as well as we can in its existing conditions. So that's why there will be 2 open bottom culverts, one here and one there. I think that's it. Yeah, any questions?
I'll read through staff reports and then open it up to the board. First letter is from the town planner. Applicant requests amended site plan approval to allow for the expansion of the non-conforming medical center. Project received special permit approval from the zoning board of appeals on 9/12/13. That decision is attached to our packet. The applicant is proposing a 115,000 square foot 3-story addition to the medical center. The proposed addition will extend to the east along Main Street frontage toward Huntoon Slip. Smaller area of parking is to be relocated, and 88 new parking spaces are proposed within the expansion, some of which will be incorporated into the lower level parking garage under a portion of the new building. Improved internal traffic circulation pattern is proposed with widening and realignment of a portion of Huntoon Slip, as this is the only Main Street access to the medical center campus. The proposed design will dramatically improve access to and within the campus for emergency vehicles as well as for delivery vehicles, staff, visitors, and patients. All other applicable zoning provisions have been met, therefore I recommend approval. I have a letter from the town engineer. I've reviewed the site plan and layout for the hospital and have discussed my initial comments with Gary and Hellman. I have the following comments. The existing sewer line will be under the proposed addition. The design has been approved by the sewer department. I recommend the existing pipe be CIPP line prior to construction, as access for future repairs or maintenance will be unavailable. Specifications to require inside drop manholes for sewers. This change has already been made on the plans. I recommend the use of coil logs for erosion control around catch basins. The area around them are paved. All catch basins must have silt sacks installed. Longitudinal reinforcing, number 5 is in the concrete sidewalk detail is called out, but not the horizontal and vertical reinforcing. Needs to be called out. Check with the highway department, see if the 20-inch drain manhole covers are okay. This is small diameter. Need to add a detail for the temporary settling basin on sheet 6C. Our proposed cross trenches temporary. Is mulch sock proprietary? Change to mulch sock. Include bullet details and some other spelling and grammaticals to be cleaned up. Notice of intent has been filed, as Attorney Pettinari indicated, and they'll be going to a public hearing on the 19th. Fire chief's comments: proposed fire hydrant at the east corner of the proposed addition shall be relocated to the opposite side of the driveway fire lane. All fire hydrants need to be marked with hydrant flags. All driveways shall be posted, no parking, fire lane, tow zone. Did you already do those, Peter, with the fire departments?
Yep. I also did the engineers, but I haven't got her in the latest plans.
Okay. Water department.
Not really
They
sure.
they haven't
I don't
finalized
think
yet.
they've, yeah, I was looking to see if there was any
Sent an
comments at
email
all.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, we're scheduled to meet with the water company by the end of this week.
Thank you.
There was a snag with last week, and then Mr. Condrey's been away for a couple of days this week.
Okay. Highway department. We would like an access point to the detention basin on the Hospital Brook, large enough to allow a backhoe to enter and clean the grates in case of backflow or overflow. We have to unblock the grates numerous times in the past. This is from the highway, from Scott Christodoulou. Another letter from the water company just indicating they can't. And then we have the zoning decision. With that, I'll open it up to the board for any questions.
Well, I always have questions, but I was waiting.
Why don't you lead us off then?
Relative to Huntoon Circle, or Huntoon Slip, rather, I'm assuming because you're essentially using it as a direct access, that you're gonna take over the plowing operations for the winter?
The roadway's not going to be abandoned by the town. So the answer is, I'm expecting we're gonna plow it. I defer to Joe on that one. Yeah,
I'm assuming as well, because if you're using it to the level that you are, I don't know the frequency of their plow schedule. As of late, I mean, I think it occupied 1 or 2 houses, so I can't assume that they plowed it as a priority. And again, I'd like to work that out prior to it becoming an issue. So again, I'm on the assumption that you're going to, well, the hospital's gonna take a more of an active role in ensuring the access to that.
I think that's a safe assumption, yes.
Okay. What's the proposed flow for ambulances? Is it gonna be still off of Prospect, or how are you planning on access? Presently, ambulance come in predominantly off of Prospect.
Correct.
Is that still going to be the flow, or?
It depends on where they originate from. I think there's folks here who can answer that probably with more data than I can. But as I understand it, it's hard for me to get oriented. The traffic that is oriented in the generally north-south Prospect Street 140 area is probably going to continue to access the hospital's emergency facilities by the Prospect Street entrance. Things that are generated in an easterly direction down East Main Street, Milford, Medway, those directions are going to be utilizing the area in the Huntoon Slip area. So there's going to be a kind of an amalgamation or a blend of the two entrances. But neither one is going to become the only one.
No, I know, but it seems, now with the whole,
was gonna ask the
the whole diversion of the traffic flow, again, I'm trying to mitigate the amount of confusion on site. That's, unfortunately, it's a wonderful plan. However, it's just, I'm just trying to ease the inevitable, so to
Well,
speak.
the answer to your question, Mr. Kennelly, is that they will continue to utilize the Prospect Street entrance for emergency vehicles that are coming from generally the 140 corridor, from
Okay.
that general direction. And the main entrance to the facility, the primary access point to the facility, and the access point for emergency vehicles that are coming from an easterly direction is going to be on the Huntoon Slip Main Street exit point. And I know that's not quantifying it. I don't know if someone here can quantify that for you, but that's generally.
It's
the plan.
logical what you answered, so I'll go along with it. As far as where the trucks are going to be temporarily parked, I'm assuming you're going to mark that with signage that specifies it's only for,
It's gonna be striped. It's striped in the pavement. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna park in the striping area.
come on, are you kidding me, seriously?
You
I
want no
prefer-
parking signs? Is that?
Well, I think you should specify exactly what it is. I think the problem that we have historically is parking in the hospital generically, or generally speaking, sometimes becomes a premium. So with that said, I think anyone who, for whatever reason, was in a rush and saw an open spot, they would certainly want to park there. And if there's no signage, why wouldn't you?
We'll mark it.
Okay.
Just had a quick generic question. The old ambulance emergency room bay, top right. You know where the ambulances used to, is there any?
Go now.
Presently, are you using that for parking at the end, or no? You don't have anything there, but I just wasn't sure what the plan was, because you have parking right across from it?
Right, those are the handicap spots. Yeah, I didn't propose anything there.
I just didn't,
I don't know what, you'd have to talk to the,
Yeah, hospital hasn't decided what they use the existing ED for.
oh, okay,
So at this point in time, there's no plans for that day.
okay. I was just wondering, because you could, in theory, pick up maybe three, four more parking spots. That's the only reason why I was asking. If you had no other purpose for it, again, I don't know what your long or short-term goals are.
But that won't necessarily be a visitor entrance location at that point. So is the,
Which it is now.
is the, sorry to.
No, go right ahead. I was
If-
going to get to the
depending on-
heliport in a
depending
second.
on- Depending on whether that's a visitor entrance or not, well, I guess the handicap parking would be staff handicap parking at that point, at that location. Because you still show handicap parking there, I guess that would end up having to be staff handicap, because it's certainly not visitor parking that's gonna be able to use that if that's not gonna be an entrance to the hospital.
Right now, in front
Staff is
of the
handicapped
building
over there.
is where pretty much everybody that is a patient, that either
Right.
is valet parked or is
Yes.
handicap parked, they pretty much use all of those spaces. If there's an employee, obviously they're gonna use the same spots. If we add spots, I would probably concur it would be the visitor employee.
Yeah, I'm just thinking these sort of become quite a distance from any
Any entrance.
access point per se, so that you may want to, I think the hospital should go through and figure out what they want to use that space to some extent, because I think the redoing of that parking, you may want to do it in a slightly different way because of that, so. Having handicap spots that have no access into the hospital doesn't help anybody.
It serves no purpose.
Sorry, any?
No, I was, because again, up in this new proposed 24 spots, it may be more prudent to put some more, again, I don't know where your entrance points are, I don't know, it's just something that you're gonna have to evaluate and look at. One question on the helipad, though. If your emergency room is the new area in yellow, is it possible to move the helipad closer? Because it seems to me like
Steve's gonna get back.
it seems to me like you're leaving it at its present location, which was probably adequate for where the emergency room used to be, or is presently.
Yeah, and it will interfere with through traffic flow on the loop road on a short-term basis. What they do is they block it anyway whenever there's outboard transport. Usually it's transport out of the facility. The ideal plan, right now, there's a big open,
Well, that's why I was wondering if it could be relocated
You're gonna
to.
move it, yeah.
the ideal location for a new helipad would be right on top of the existing basin. However, that requires extensive conservation approval. The hospital's not prepared to fund that at this point in time, but they want to pursue that as a long-term potential location. It would be immediately access the ambulance entrance.
Well,
Perfect.
Makes sense.
that's why I was asking, because the location just doesn't seem the most appropriate for where you're ultimately trying to get to.
That's a long-term goal. It's going to take a lot more work with conservation issues relative to the stream, so it's just something we can't accomplish on a short-term basis.
And again, may I speak up, it's most likely because of the frequency of the helicopters, we average about one a week, 52 a year is what it is.
I know, I hear them coming.
Yeah.
I hear them coming.
And they spotty at times, so
Hear them
again,
too?
Right at my house.
future dates, as we, as things grow, I'm sure we're gonna have to relook at that location, but that seems to work, and again, that's for transportation purposes, it's not gonna be wheeling off in the stretcher like they're currently doing. They're gonna have to have an ambulance ready at transport and bring them to our back bay like most facilities do now.
Okay.
Anything else?
So,
Other board members?
On Main Street and Huntoon Slip, are you planning to put a light or anything there? Because traffic does back up pretty good coming down Main Street.
No, we're not proposing a light, just a
Warning
stop.
signal or a sign or
No, just
something?
a stop sign with, just stop bars and a stop sign.
Why don't you hang something up that says ambulance entrance?
I
There's a
guess.
warning.
I think what John's contending is he doesn't want the driveway, which is in theory what it is.
Exactly.
Blocked is what
It's
he's
gonna be
contending.
blocked.
By standing traffic.
Yes,
is
I think
now.
that's what he's trying to tell you, which
Yeah,
is a
'cause
very
that's-
valid point.
That's it there,
That
see
is a
it?
good idea.
The top right is the entrance we're talking about.
I think he's talking on Main Street, though.
Main Street,
Oh,
so you
Main
could probably put a
Street.
do
I'm
not,
talking
do
Main
not
Street.
block sign,
Okay.
do not block in.
Yeah, you can put a do
Yeah.
not block intersection
Okay.
sign
Okay.
on Main Street.
It is 300
Good
feet
luck.
further east, so that
Yeah,
helps.
well,
Yeah, it is a little ways down.
Something
That
where it is
doesn't
down
work.
to it.
Anyone else?
No, Pat asked all.
That asked all the questions.
It's always me. Listen, I
You
paused.
took all our questions, Pat.
The,
I always have questions.
Huntoon
Yeah.
Slip, what did you say the cross-section was? As you come in, it's 2 lanes exiting, 1 lane entrance?
Correct.
Is there enough room to get a bypass lane? I'm looking at it saying if someone's taking a left turn, not that there's that much traffic in the hospital coming out, but if someone's trying to take a left turn up to the existing loop and an ambulance follows them in, he's stuck behind them until he can take the left turn. He should be able to slide by that location.
When that was first proposed, that was proposed in conjunction with conversations that we had with Chief Tui. And Chief Tui asked us to design the roadway such that in the event of traffic on that roadway, that he still could get his emergency vehicles by it.
Me too.
I'm assuming that that would be wide enough,
So
but I don't.
there's 2 lanes going in, or?
No, one lane going in, but there is a stop, there is a stop sign and a stop line right here to keep this intersection open. So this should stay open, so if someone pulled in, there should be no problem going this way, because they do have a stop sign there. So there's a stop sign and a stop bar in this location as well as at the main entrance. So that should stay open, so they could turn in and the ambulance could go right behind it. There's really not enough room because we don't own these two.
Right.
Yeah, the problem is that the stop bar works all well, but someone taking a left turn, whether you have a stop bar or not, is never gonna recognize that they actually have the right of way. It doesn't function that way. In real life, that guy's gonna stop and wait for that guy to go. He's not gonna cut and, I mean, there's no traffic thing anywhere that allows that, and when you come to that intersection, no one's gonna realize that the through traffic has the stop bar. I mean, that goes against everything that you do, traffic situation. That's why I said, I didn't think you had enough room, and I wasn't saying put in another whole lane, but it would be nice if you had a widened driveway at least so that someone might be able to slide by through there. If it even meant pushing that driveway entrance up slightly, just to try to get a little bit additional width in there.
I don't know the answer to that. Or make
So
it,
you want-
make
you
it
want-
15 feet wide going in.
Something like that,
Yeah, if you moved up.
yes.
I hear what you're saying.
Do you mean the left-hand lane, the lane going
Well, if you
into
push,
the
if you push the right and the left up slightly, and then you'd widen out that entrance lane so that it's wider than what it is now. I'm not asking you to get to 24. I can understand how that may not be difficult, but the wider that you make that, the easier it's gonna be for someone else to pass
Yes.
around that vehicle.
Yeah.
Because to me, the stop thing is gonna cause more confusion than actually help in a certain sense. And I just wanna make sure that the emergency vehicles coming in can clear through there without having to wait for somebody, especially when you got an emergency vehicle behind you and you're like, well, what do I do? Normally, you
Yeah,
push
where
to
do
the
I go?
right. And that certainly isn't the way we want them to go. So, I mean, I think it just causes a bunch of confusion that I think with a little bit extra width, we might make it a little bit easier.
Okay.
So if you could take a look at that, at least. The other thing that, and this is more a comment to you guys, is the trench drain. My experience with trench drains are understand the use, probably understand the maintenance requirements, and they are a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm not sure, is there any reason why that needs to be a trench drain in that location, or is there something else that would work? Because I would think that you may be better served. I guess in my case, I'm afraid that it's gonna get clogged up because the amount of maintenance needed to keep a trench drain open is gonna be significant. That gets clogged up, it ices up over the winter, that's a spreading ice sheet that, based on my knowledge of that site, I think would be sliding down towards the emergency room exit as you show it now. So, I mean, it becomes it possibly could become a hazard, so I would rather not see a trench drain if you could get something else to work, but I'm not sure what the exact purpose of the trench drain was and what the grading looked like out there.
It doesn't have a crown. I guess I could put a crown in.
That's what I'm thinking, is that you may be better off with a crown and some
Just
catch
that
basins.
that's a bowl, and Joe's afraid, you know, if that ponds up, that's gonna go into the because that's coming, like you said, it's coming downhill into that area. But I can look at doing some kind of crown with some catch basins.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the trench drain will work, provided you're out there cleaning it all the time, but that's also gonna be an area that's gonna get, I would assume, is gonna get highly sanded and salted because it's of where it's located, and that's a lot of maintenance to go through. It's a lot easier to keep a catch basin with a sump open than it's gonna be a trench drain.
Is that gonna be a poured trench drain?
I was planning on it to be poured in a larger grate. It wasn't gonna be a narrow grate, it was gonna be a larger one.
What I've done in the past is when you put the styrofoam in to take up the spot of the concrete, that you wrap that styrofoam in polyethylene when you pour it. Makes it as slick as a plastic pipe and takes care of it a lot better. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Are you working for the enemy now?
Any other comments?
I have one comment. Today, when you go into the emergency room today, there's that whole parking lot when you go, and that parking lot going into the emergency room today, in today's, that parking lot is utilized a lot by a lot of handicapped, a lot of valet parking, and so forth and so on. So I look at that, that's a pretty big spot for parking. And now I'm looking at it at the new emergency room, and I'm wondering how many parking space the valet is going to take up, and how many will be left for people that could enter the emergency room. I'm just kind of curious about
The
that.
Hill Center's not moving, so I would assume your valet is staying where it is, so effectively this would separate now your,
Okay,
so
that's
this
what I
actually,
wanted
this
to
actually
know.
works for us in that
Okay.
sense.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
decongest what is now,
So-
all the outpatients coming in for any kind of radiology test or ultrasound.
So it's all going to be on the same, okay,
Right, so we're pulling all the emergency traffic out of it.
I see, okay.
I made an interesting study of new Malsey where we did about 65,000 visit ED. This capacity is about the same. And we've got about 10 handicap spaces right at the entrance, and we have another 35 dedicated at the first level of a garage adjacent. We've never had to move the barrier. It's always sufficed for the peak population. So with all of the 80-some-odd spaces provided, we're going to have more than adequate parking. And if you park underneath the building, if there's no spaces left on the top, this elevator is bringing you right up into the emergency room, right to the waiting area.
That sounds great. Thank you. Bonnie?
Anything else?
No, no, sir.
Did he say he was gonna give you a pass to jump the waiting line in the emergency room? Is that what he just said?
I was just there this weekend. With there's some, I know Vonnie hasn't had a chance, I know Peter said that he had made the corrections, but Vonnie hasn't had a chance to look over that. We don't have a letter from the water company. I think we've made some comments in here that we'd at least like to see addressed.
Yeah, and I think the Commission on Disabilities probably hasn't had a chance to review the latest version. I didn't see the comments that I thought I had in the packet, so those weren't included, but I know Peter's addressed a lot of them. So we'll include whatever's outstanding for next meeting, but I'd recommend you continue till the first.
I'll make a motion to continue to the next meeting.
Motion by Pat to,
Can I comment on Commission on Disability?
if it's on the current plans, otherwise,
Yeah.
Mhm.
First, I would like to thank Mr. Walsh and all of his whole team for working with the Commission on Disability on these plans. We did review them. I did submit 2 detailed letters to Mr. Duncan, Commission on Disability, and also Mass Office on Disability. Briefly, in conversations with Mr. Walsh this evening and looking at some of the plans that I've seen tonight, they've addressed a lot of the concerns, and I believe we agreed to continue working together on this because it's their intent as well as ours to make sure the accessibility issues are addressed. There were a lot of little things, a few major things. The small plan I just saw tonight from Garrier and Howland looked like they had addressed many of those issues. A couple of the big ones that still remain, 2 of them mostly, is the question of whether the $40 million work here triggered the 30% of value trigger, which means that existing facility has to be brought up to current
that's not,
standards.
that's not
But
for us.
well, yes and no, because it also involves the parking lot, although since they're revising the parking, it does affect that anyway. And to that point, the other concern, and Mr. Walters is aware of it, is the parking on the hillside at the Hill Center entrance exceeds the 2% slope maximum for Mass Architectural Access Board requirements for accessible parking. Now, especially since these parking changes brings it up to requiring it to comply with present law, including 2010 ADA. We strongly encourage the project to seek a variance from the Mass Architectural Access Board for that parking there. It's a good location, but it exceeds the 2% slope. And it's to their best interest to get that variance and have it in hand in case an individual who utilizes that area with a disability later on encounters a difficulty on that slope and files a complaint with AAB or ADA, they need to have that variance in hand. Otherwise, they're going to have some difficulties later on. Mr. Walsh is aware, and I think he's going to be looking into seeking that variance from MAAB. A lot of the other comments that we had on our letters, both from MOD and Milford, have been addressed, and I understand we will be receiving later copies of the plans so that we can kind of get caught up on the newer parking assignments. But again, I want to thank them because they are working on this cooperatively, and we really appreciate that very much.
Thanks.
Have a motion from Pat to continue to our next meeting. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 5.
Is there a drop dead date on this?
Next meeting?
Pardon me?
No, in which
When-
sense?
No,
All
when,
for them,
when
I'm
would
not
you
sure.
expect to start all this stuff? Once you-
Construction itself?
Yeah.
It's not until
Spring
spring.
next year.
It's tied
Next year.
into, we need to be fully approved. Part of the project is getting financing, and we can't go to the markets without the approvals. So we are under a tight timeframe.
Well, that's what I was getting.
You got conservation.
And the 20-day appeal period hasn't lapsed. from
The next
special
meeting of
permit.
your board is the first, correct?
Yes.
What we'll do is what we typically do is as these upticks in the plan are done, we'll get them to Larry, to Vonnie, to the folks. We'll get the water company letter in, and we'll do all that, so that our expectation would be when we come back on the first, we should have satisfied all that punch list items.
Good. That's what
Yeah, I
I was
don't think there was
getting.
anything.
I saved
that
a
we
few
had that was-
questions. Because I couldn't see.
I'll get you your own set of plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Do you want these back?
We can always get them back.
I'm gonna give them to Larry and let him bring them back, I'm assuming, but,
Yeah, that's the best way.
You give them to Larry.
Yeah, that's fine.
well, I assume you're gonna be bringing them back with
Well, you
you.
can bring it back again.
Yeah, thank you.
They're gonna change.
Here you go. Okay.
I like how you tell me.
I
no
did
one's gonna
write
find
on
I
out.
wrote on it.
He wrote on it. Peter, here are copies all set.
I saved 3 though, Ernie.
Good job, Ernie.
I have 3 more concerns that I'm waiting. I won't be here on the first?
Good night now.
Where will I be? I
Work on.
don't think so.
Help that guy.
I don't think so.
Hey, Ernie. Nice to see you. Give my best to the family.
Have a good night.
I know. This lady, what seems to be her problem?
Finally.
We all set?
Yes.
Next item is site plan waiver for 7 Medway Street, Planet Aid. And,
This is when we gave their
yes.
recommendation for the zoning board.
I think let me just read through the staff. There's a letter from Larry and a decision from the zoning board, and then you can speak. Applicant requests waiver of site plan to allow for the placement of 2 4x4 portable storage containers at the above listed site is located on the attached site plan for the purpose of collection of used clothing. ZBA granted a special permit for the use at their 9/12/13 meetings. We have the decision attached. The application is essentially an amendment of the previously approved waiver to change the location for the placement of the collection boxes. If you remember, this is at 7 Medway
Yeah.
Street at Hannaford.
Yeah.
The original locations are nearer to the Hannaford building, became problematic for the store. The proposed new location is slightly further away, approximately 60 feet from the store, directly north of the original location near the edge of the parking lot. Both of the collection boxes will still display on all 4 sides the company logo, the words clothing and shoes, as well as various instructions and other pertinent information. The proposed new location was developed after consultation with staff and Hannaford store manager and will not generate any new traffic. It is situated to prevent interference with both vehicular and pedestrian circulation within the site. Therefore, the proposed location is not within the public way or the required front yard. Therefore, I recommend the request for waiver of site plan be approved, and that was from the town planner. The decision from the zoning board that approved it is also attached, and I believe at the back of the package is the, it shows where the location is. And with that, I'll turn it over to you if there's anything that you wanted to add to that.
We're just looking to relocate the 2 boxes, that's all we're looking to do.
I'll make a motion.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Hearing none, I have a motion by Pat to grant the waiver of site plan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lena. All those in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Unanimous at 5.
Need you to sign, please.
That was quick.
I'll get you a copy tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very
You're all
much.
set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
17?
Sorry I had to wait so long.
Oh, that's okay. I actually told the hospital I'm gonna apply for a job because I keep following them on everything. With these guys,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
should.
I think I know more than anybody.
Larry, do you want 2 signed or just 1?
Thank you.
I'll make copies.
Make copies?
That's okay, yeah.
Okay. With that, the last thing on our agenda is general discussion about the meeting schedule and possible PD district amendments. This is in relation to the, if the vote on the casino is successful, what the zoning board, or what the planning board will need to do in order to be prepared for that. And it was a discussion really to bring the board members up to speed. And also, when Larry and I discussed putting this on there, there was some other issues at the time that seemed to have cleared themselves out. As I think all the board members are aware, the casino has requested that the selectmen set a date for the election, or the election of the vote, which has been set the 19th of November.
Yes.
They were required to set that date. I believe it was within 65 days of, or after 65 days of receiving that. So that came out, I think they could have done it the week before, but that was the day after Veterans Day, and that had some problems, so the selectmen decided to go with the 19th. The other issue was that we weren't sure at the time whether the casino was also going to request the selectmen remand the zoning change to the planning board, which would have required us to have a public hearing within 60 days, which would have caused a problem as far as I was concerned, because it would have required the planning board to have a public hearing prior to any vote from any of the residents of the town of Milford. Although we could have done that and couched our decision by basing it on whatever happened in the vote, I wasn't really comfortable with that, but that was something that we may have faced. But the proponent has not requested the Board of Selectmen to remand a zoning change yet. So the expectation now is that that will be coming shortly, in which case it's my intent right now, unless the board members have a differing opinion, that it would probably be best for us to have a special meeting the day after the election, the special election vote, which would be the 20th, which would be a Wednesday, to act on the zoning amendment. And the reason why I'm saying we don't need to necessarily do it that quickly, but I believe the week after is Thanksgiving, and I don't know that any of us really need to think that we would want to have a meeting the week of Thanksgiving.
Can I ask a question? Why couldn't we just shift our meeting, regular
That's the
meeting
other
to the
possibility.
20th?
We could actually
Only
do
Ask
that.
because
that question,
Yep.
Pat.
You can't have you can't have a public hearing at all, and I don't know what's scheduled for.
Yeah, I don't know what this, I don't know
So,
if this.
I don't know
because,
why,
but
wouldn't
that's
it
not-
be just more prudent?
Yeah.
Since we have some time, just
Yep.
to switch it to the 20th?
Yeah,
The
actually,
meeting-
I had discussed that with Larry as another possibility, and that was something that we did talk about, so I
I would
wouldn't be
favor that,
adverse
if
to
you're
that.
asking my opinion, I would favor just
I would
shifting
be
it
in
by a
favor
day.
of the next day.
Yep.
Yeah, I would.
And just have the regular meeting in that as well, if you
Then
can.
we know the
I
results.
won't
Yeah.
be here.
But assuming you have,
Be here.
assuming you have agenda items
You won't
other
be here
than
on the
this. yeah.
20th regardless?
It seems it's the day that I married my wife, I think.
So, special meeting, regular meeting, you won't be here. Special meeting, regular meeting, you wouldn't be here?
Special meeting, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
On the 20th, I won't.
Yeah, I know.
You would or you would not?
Would not.
Thank you.
That's what I
Okay.
said, I won't be here.
I mean, I don't know what anybody's schedule is, we could do it on the 21st if we wanted to, and have that as our regular meeting also. There's nothing that
that
requires it
work
the
for
20th if we.
I mean, the fact I want to be here is no big deal. I mean, you can.
Well, I mean, for something like this, I would like, if at all
I'd like a
possible,
full
I mean,
board.
I don't know that any, I mean, what could happen in between now and then, but if we could schedule it where we at least think we're all gonna be here, I'd rather do that, and I don't know that,
I'd be fine with the 21st.
you know.
You could bring your wife along, you know.
I'd be fine with the 21st, if it's
I would
okay with
be-
everyone else.
I would be fine with the 21st. I don't have a problem.
Okay.
For you,
Everybody's
We're
available?
gonna have it on the 21st. We want
As far
you
as we
here
As
know.
far as we know right now, it looks like the 21st is,
as the
would
date,
be,
right?
a day.
Yeah, well, they haven't, as you mentioned, the proponents haven't submitted an amendment, which I assume is going to be similar to the draft we've been working on. So if they do that, then I would need to start the process for that, for the meeting, whether it's the 20th or the 21st, by the end of October. So we have really until, you know, we've got another
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah,
Not gonna
if
make
something
a
comes up, we
comment
can
today.
change this again, but for right now, let's tentatively set it for, we plan on doing the
20
21st. And then go
21st.
from there.
All right.
That seems to work best for
That's right.
everybody.
Works for me.
With that, I'll
Thank
entertain
you.
a motion to adjourn.
So you're gonna just think about that 21st, Joe?
Well, we have until,
We have
until
until-
the beginning of October, but I mean,
Okay.
in terms of Larry trying to set something up, and if the proponent wants to know which way we're leaning for whatever reason, or
Okay.
whatever, at least people will know, and the town residents will know right now as to
We can
where we're
always
going.
cancel the meeting.
Well, yeah.
Well, if,
If
depending on
voters
the-
know, then,
there's no reason to have the meeting, right?
yeah, which is a good thing
But-
to have.
Well,
We have a
no,
regular
you'd
meeting.
have a
But we
regular
also-
meeting, so we're still meeting, so.
That's right.
Right, but we also need to make sure we have room available on that day, so, yeah, so. And I assume we should reserve the upper hall.
For
You
our
would-
meeting?
Well, just in
out of
case.
clarity purposes, Larry, just, and forgive me, maybe I'm missing something, but if it already went through the vote, maybe you're right, okay, I'll just,
I don't know.
The problem
Let
is
it
that we
go.
don't know what the, I mean.
We're
Just so
predicting.
people, yeah, I mean, so people understand right now the way the zoning amendment looks.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry has that in there, I mean, you can see that it's not, there's not a lot of detail to that.
No, there's
And we don't
not.
believe that there's a lot of reason for it to be detailed. Effectively, what it does is it allows casinos in the business park zone.
Right.
Is the main point, and then I believe we changed the height requirements, Larry?
Yes.
And effectively, it says, in a footnote, it will then say that it's based on, effectively, what the town of Milford voted for. So if the town votes for it, it's based on those plans that were presented to the town and have been presented to the town over the past couple months, and are now being presented to the
Yeah.
town in preparation for this vote.
Okay.
Yeah, it's likely to have
I
a
get it.
number. We'll know the number this week.
Mhm.
Tentatively, I put in 130 feet. We don't know what it is for sure, but we will. And they'll have to have that.
Yeah, that's.
To submit.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that in terms of the way the height is given from, in our zoning from the,
Mean elevation at the footing, at the base of the building.
at the base of the building, okay.
And depending on how many buildings are in the complex, you could have 3 or 4 different buildings, and each one have its own height measurement, which is what we're going to be confirming yet this week.
Doesn't tell you where the flow's going.
I was,
So,
I was somewhat afraid, because I couldn't think back what ours was, because I know others measured from the mean height of the nearest public road, and I'm saying,
No,
oh
no,
boy.
no, that's,
That would be tough at this location,
yes.
it's gonna be a
which-
lot higher.
Which one, yeah.
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 So 11, 21, 13, and,
Yep,
okay.
so that's all I had for tonight.
Oh,
So
that,
with that, I'll entertain
it was a good
motion-
meeting, Joe.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
I knew she would.
Motion by Lena to adjourn, seconded by Pat. All those in
I
favor?
didn't want to get accused
Aye.
of talking too much again.
Unanimous at 5.